I've started this project quite a while ago, and now that I've come back to the pieces that I made before, I just realized a tiny little problem. These are the sides of the car. Cool. So this door opens fine, but I don't think we need a car that's door opens inside of the car. So I'm just gonna strip the fabric off of one of these and just put it on the other side. So it's not a big problem, but it's just like, now that I actually want the glue not to stick, now it's sticking. That's not the cutest look, but we'll sand it off. There are two ways I can make the wheel mechanism for my car. The easy way, where I just drill holes in the middle and I put a stick through, and voila. But there's the other way that I really want to try out, and that is by actually making it like a real car. The steering wheel steers the wheels for where they should go. The thing is, this is going to be really complicated because all four wheels should move exactly the same. And not only that, you have to connect the steering wheels to the wheels. That's the end goal, yet I'm not going to be too upset if it doesn't work. And the same thing with the doors of my car. I really want to do something like that where the door handle of the car actually locks the car, and when you obviously open the handle, the door can actually open. This little car works with the easier method, so it can only go in one direction, and the wheels often get stuck. It's probably because the car is so lightweight, and I don't think I cut the wheels perfectly. I drew out a square that's the size of the flooring that I need, and I'm going to use popsicle sticks and just glue it on top, and with saran wrap over this, I can just peel it off afterwards. In miniatures, these work wonders because they're actually wood, so when you stain them, they look amazing and super realistic. Another thing I love doing with wooden sticks is to offset them a little bit in different sizes so that they actually look like a wooden plank floor. Paper is a lot easier to cut at a 90-degree angle since, especially when you use lined paper, it's already 90 degrees. So I'm going to use a piece of paper and draw the shape that I drew on the piece of wood over on the paper and cut it out, and then use that to cut the floor of the vehicle. Also, just a tip, and this blew my mind when I found this out. Here in the back, you can take this part off, and you'll see there's a little line. Line up the razor blade to this little part over here. Fit the razor blade into that hole, like that, and then just snap it off, like that. And you have a new blade. Just to give you a better idea of how the car is going to look by the end, even though we have a little prototype, here are the sidewalls, here's the actual floor and the roof. Let's put it together and see how it looks. And I know from experience with that little car of mine that it's extremely hard to keep the roof up, obviously because it's not glued in place. So hopefully it's going to be easier with the bigger car. Take a look inside. Oh, that's so cute! And the door opens and closes, and the same with this side. Opens and closes. We still need to add doors over here, by the way. I've assembled the car so far with all the parts. I just put this in so that it actually stays up, because I'm not going to glue it together yet. I'm going to explain to you where everything is going in this car with the little prototype that I made. In the little prototype, there's not a chair, but over here, there's going to be a little driver's seat and obviously the steering wheel and all of the little pedal mechanisms that I actually want to make work. Then over here, we're going to have a little bed that can turn into a desk. So it's going to be located over here. You can see when you look into the little car, there's something that seems to be blocking the view. That little part, let me just take out the kitchen from the back. It's going to be a little bathroom. I hope you can see it in there, but there's a little chair in there that I just made to symbolize the toilet. What I want to do is I want to add curtains that just close up there. If you open the van in the back, then you're just going to see this little wall over here. Now I made it so that you can take it out to see better. The kitchen's kind of going to look like this. It's going to have a little sink. It's going to have the two cabinets. But that being said, the design can change at any moment, anytime, because although I planned a lot and I drew a lot. This was the one that I liked the most, but it's not necessarily going to be very practical. When I'm translating the miniature to the bigger miniature, it's not necessarily going to look the same or be the same. If I need more space, then I'll remove the bathroom, because the bathroom might make it look too full. And it's the same with my miniature house. I've made a lot of things for my miniature house that didn't work and didn't make the cut in the final videos that I've posted on my YouTube channel. That being said, I'm not going to continue working on my miniature house. This is because when I started making the miniature house, I started with my skills from scratch as well. As I went on in the house, I've realized that certain things in the main structure of the house just isn't working. The house is to the side, it's just not measured correctly either. And as you can see, like these miniatures, the little honeycomb and everything that I've made, I made that a year ago. And my skills have progressed so much since then. That's why I've decided to take on this project, something that's more tangible, that's smaller, so that I can actually take my skills that I have now, which is reasonably well, and then progress from there, so that I can actually be happy with the final product. And I don't have to stress and worry about the main structure not being correct, and then everything else having to fall into that category as well. Yes, if you are wondering, this is how I let all my pieces dry if they need to be a right angle. Now that the car is all dried, what better time to play around with the previous miniatures I've made, some of which you haven't seen yet, and what better way to show you than to show you in this baby. Yeah, I've forgotten some of these pieces. This was one of the fails. I wanted to make a walk-in closet that was like in a corner. And there was a door that actually moved. I don't know if I still have the door. Oh, here it is. I found it. The hinge works with a needle that I cut, so that the hole that I made in the wood would sit on top of that, and then I would make a hole in the ceiling, and then obviously it would hinge from that. But the door was made in such a way where you can only open it inwards. And then I made a little step you can step on as you walk into the closet, but it didn't work out in the end. I love this piece, and I think I'm gonna carry the pastel pattern into the van, but this was one of my first pieces that I made. So there are gems on top of here that I just painted over, and yeah, it just opens up. And once again, it's the same hinge mechanism that I used for this door, except I just used toothpicks that I just stuck in there. This was one of the things that I placed on top of it. So let's say this was the wall, then I would put products or whatever on that. Here is the kitchen countertops. Man, I was really proud, and I'm still proud of these. They're just amazingly and well made, even if I do say so myself. So they would be positioned like this. Then these are the top cabinets, obviously, and these are the bottom. And I also stained them. I placed some tape around the edges and I stained them. These were my stairs for the miniature house, and they would go like this. These were tiny holders for magazines in the bathroom. Here's my little easel, artist easel. I made a video on this one. This was a stove that I attempted to make. Yeah, it's a little bit rough, but I didn't completely finish it. And then you can also open it up. I wanted to add a light in there, and I wanted to print a clock. That's why there's this huge hole. And I wanted to add buttons. I probably still can. This was a little shelf that I made that just went into the bottom, because some ovens actually have a little shelf that you can just put pots and pans in there. And then at the top I would add these little coils. I think this was part of what went into the closet, so it probably went like this. I can't really remember. This was a canvas that I made for my easel. Also very proud of this. This was really hard to make because the tiny little parts, they would squish around. Oh, I remember this. This was when I was trying to figure out the lock mechanism for the little door that I made. So I made a little prototype to show you what it looks like on the inside when the door opens and closes. This was my first design. It ended up being much more complicated than it needed to be. But then you just pull the handle and it comes out at the end. And then you pull it back. When people came over, I wanted to show them the mechanism inside because you don't appreciate the tiny parts if you don't see it. I used paper hinges on this one. It's a little vinyl player. There's not a vinyl inside right now, but the needle lifts up and then you put the vinyl inside and the needle has a little needle actually inside so that it plays the vinyl. And then I wanted to make a fridge. That was one of my upcoming projects for my miniature house. So I made these teeny tiny little eggs. As you can see, they're really tiny. And I made a little egg holder for them. This was also really hard to make because it kept on breaking because the parts were so small. And then you just pop them in there and they lay in there. Happy little eggs. And this was going to go in the door of the fridge. Let's take some photos. Needless to say, haha, always forget to check that my fingers are not over the ruler. Ay. But I've never lost a finger before, so that's good.